Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today I want to introduce you to a topic called transfer price with a very short example that I've brought to your attention. We know that a transfer price is when an organization has more than one division. Let us say an organization has division A and organization has division B. And division A produce goods and services and sell them to the external market. While they sell these products to the external market, Division B also wants the same products that are being produced by Division A and are sold to the external market. Now that gets to be called the transfer price, where the goods and services or the goods that are produced by Division A gets to be sold or transferred to Division B. Now the question is, at what price? We are looking at the selling price. At what price must Division A sell the goods to Division B, considering the availability of the external market, meaning considering the fact that they can sell these units to the other customers outside the organization. Now the question is, at what price must Division A sell the goods that they produce to one of their division within the organization in the scenario called Division B. So now that is what transfer price is. Now in response to the question of at what price must one division transfer the goods to another division, we have brought to you three scenarios. There is a scenario where Division A has no idle capacity. That means all goods and services or products that Department A or Division A produce, they sells all of them external. That means they are operating at 100% capacity. There is no closing inventory. There is no idle inventory available. They produce and sell all of them external. So now if Division B wants to buy from Division A, that means Division A will have to compromise sales that were supposed to be made to the external customers, but those sales must be transferred internally to another division. Then the question is, at what price must this be in between the two departments? Must it be the same as the market-related price, or must it be different? So now that is what we'll be dealing with. If the division that produces the goods and sell to the external is operating at 100% capacity, but the other division, which is Division B, wants to buy from Division A. So what will be the price in that scenario? Scenario number 2 is when there is some capacity. That means what Division B wants from Division A in terms of the number of units, some of them are available, but they are not enough, meaning some idle capacity. So Division B wants more than what is idling or what is available from Division A. That means in the case where Division A operates at 95% production and sales capacity, it means out of what Division A produce and sell, they produce and sell 95%. They produce 100%, but they sell 95%. That means now there is 5% that is available. But this 5% that is available, which is closing inventory, is not enough. It's less than what Division B requires. So now, how do we calculate the selling price in this scenario? So this example will answer that question. Now, scenario number C is when there is idle capacity, meaning Division A produce and sells to the external market 90% of what they produce, meaning there is 10% of what they produce is what is called closing inventory, meaning it is available. To be transferred to another division. It's either they can be operating at 90% or they can be operating at 100% but selling 90%. I want to make that one clear. They can be producing at 90% and decide to say, we want to increase our capacity to 100%, but the difference of 90 to 100, which is 10%, will be transferred to Division B. So now that 90% production capacity is their production capacity, but the intention will be to increase that so that it is part of that difference of 10% is transferred to the internal division. Similarly, with the second scenario, operating at 95%, then obviously that 5% is idle capacity. Then they can increase and operate at 100%. Then that 5% will be transferred to another division. Now, let us then now continue reading the information that is provided to us. Just a short one-page scenario, not much information. It says ORMB Ltd is a company that manufactures mountain bikes. The company has two divisions, which are called the tire division that manufactures tubeless tires, and the mountain bike division that assembles and sells mountain bikes. So we have two divisions. Remember, the mountain bike division requires two tires, meaning each mountain bike requires two tires. Keep that at the back of your mind. They operating from the industrial premises. They operating from the same industrial premises. It's very important to note that it is the same industrial premises. And when it's the same industrial premises, there will normally be no delivery cost, meaning if division A decides to transfer to division B, there will be no delivery cost or selling and distribution cost, because they are in the same industrial site or premise. Now it says the MTB division contracts with various suppliers, which is the mountain bike division, contracts with different suppliers for different parts of the bicycles. All the parts are purchased at a market-related price. The factory of the current supplier of the tubeless tires burned down. Now the mountain bike division buy their tubeless tires from an external supplier. But now the factory of this external supplier burned down, and they are now in the process of rebuilding it, and they will probably only resume supply in 6 months time. So now that means they are stranded in terms of the supplier, but we know at the same time that within the organization that operates in the same industrial site, we do have a division which is called tire division, and this tire division produces tubeless tires, and these tubeless tires are the ones that are needed by the mountain bike division, which previously used to buy that from an external supplier. Now the problem is the fact that there was a burning of that building, and in 6 months time will be too much loss of sales. The division predicts that there will be a demand of 5,000 mountain bikes over the next 6 months. Remember, one bicycle requires two tires. That means they need 10,000 tubeless tires. They need 10,000 tubeless tires for the period of 6 months while their previous supplier is rebuilding their structure. Now the tire division has a maximum capacity of 100,000 tires per annum, and they are currently running at 90%. Now if they are running at 90%, that means there is 10% that is available capacity. Now if that is available capacity, then we need to check if can we be able to get that from or within this division. Now remember, this is the tubeless tire division, and they are operating at 90%, meaning they only produce 90,000 units and they sell them to the external market. So now that means there is 10,000 or there is 10% idle capacity, and that 10% can be obtained, and that will be equivalent to 10,000 tires. So now that 10%, which is 10,000 tires, is idle, and now the only time they can make this available is to produce up to their maximum capacity. Now they're producing 90,000 instead of 100,000. So now another division, which is the mountain bike division, will definitely request that they increase their capacity to 100% so that the 10,000 can be transferred to them. But this will also appear in the requirements, even if I should not have brought this, because I have all these three scenarios, the 100%, 90%, and 95%. Now it further says that the price of the tire manufactured by the tire division of ORMB Ltd is 575. Sorry for that, per tire. The market price of the tires manufactured by the tire division of the mountain bike division is 575 per tire, and this is the market related price. Now it further says that the variable manufacturing cost per tire amounts to 400. Now take note that the variable manufacturing cost of 400 is called incremental cost. These are what we called incremental cost. Now whenever we're calculating transfer price, your transfer price is equal to incremental cost plus compensation on lost sales. Compensation on lost sales. Compensation on lost sales. So when I speak of the incremental cost, then you need to know that I'm referring to the so-called variable manufacturing cost. Those are called incremental cost. Now, and I'll talk about opportunity cost as we progress, because the compensation on lost units is the same as the so previously called opportunity cost. The tire division incurs additional cost of 20 Rand per tire for packaging and delivery purposes to the external market. Remember, these two divisions operate in the same industrial premises. So now, if it happens that there is an agreement to buy from the tubeless tire division, they will not be incurring the 20 Rand of the packaging and the delivery cost. Why? Because they are in the same industrial site. The 20 Rand is only when the tire division sells to the external market or external customer. Obviously, the product must be packaged and delivered at a cost. The management of ORMB Ltd and the two divisions need a solution for this short-term problem, and they are considering running the tire division at 100% capacity and transferring the tubeless tires from the tire division to the mountain bike division. So now they have the solution to increase the capacity to 100%. Now, and also that one is part of the requirements. Then after it further say that the mountain bike the mountain bikes of the MTV division are selling at a unit price of 9,500. So now this is the completed market price for the selling price for the whole bike. The variable cost excluding the tire amounts to 6,050 per bike. That is not much important when it comes to this question. We know that the tubeless tire division, has a maximum capacity of 100,000 tubeless tires. Their maximum capacity is 100,000 tubeless tires. I want this to be here. This is the maximum that they can produce. Now we are required to determine the opportunity cost, or the so-called compensation for lost units. So now, if there are units that are lost, how shall one division be compensated? That, remember, lost units are the units that were supposed to be sold to the external customer, but now they are transferred internal. So we are losing external sales. And when we lose external sales, how then as the division gets to be compensated? So that is what is normally called opportunity cost or compensation for lost units. When there is no idle capacity, meaning therefore the production and external sales are at 100%, meaning they produce at full capacity. This is 100% full capacity of 100,000 tubeless tires. Now, if the production and the external sales are at 100%, that means now there is no inventory of the tubeless tires available to be sold to the mountain bike division, because we are producing everything and selling everything to the external market. Now, how do we get to charge the selling price or the transfer price if we decide to agree and transfer these tubeless tires that are required by the mountain bike division? At what price must we transfer them for? Must it be the market related price, unless it's a perfect competitive market? Now I have the table showing the whole of the scenarios. We have selling division with no idle capacity, with some capacity, third one with idle capacity. Therefore, now what do? We are here where we say now we need to calculate the contribution on lost sales. We need to calculate the contribution on lost sales. And I want to bring this to attention that when you do the calculations, please don't draw this table. This table is just for presentation for the person that is teaching you. Now, when you are busy responding to this question, you know how to calculate your contribution. Your contribution is your selling price minus your variable production cost. Therefore, now this will give you your contribution. Whatever amount of contribution you get in here, you divide by the number of units that were lost. Then you multiply by the number of units that were lost. Then after you divide by the number of units that were transferred. So you don't have to be wanting to structure it in a table. Contribution is selling price minus variable manufacturing cost. In this case, I want to make it very clear, variable manufacturing cost or variable cost if they are also non-manufacturing cost for the external market. Now we are looking for the contribution on lost units. Contribution on lost units is the contribution on lost units for the division that has lost units that were supposed to be sold external. Remember, that division is the tubeless tire division. So now that division, we need to look at the selling price. How much was the price of the tire? How much was the price of the variable cost? Now, it further says that the market price of the tire manufactured by the tire division, they make it very clear, the market price of the tire manufactured by the tire division is 575. How much now are the variable cost? Our variable costs are 400. So now variable cost minus selling price 575 minus 400. This will give us our contribution. Then we multiply that contribution by the number of units that were lost. So now we say 575 minus 400. This gives us 175. We multiply this by a total of the units that were all lost. Remember now, in the first scenario, this division is operating at 100%. They don't have any inventory that is available. So now when they transfer the 10,000 tires, remember, they need to transfer 10,000 tires because the mountain bike division has a demand that is expected to be 5,000 bicycles or mountain bikes. So now remember, I said to you that one bicycle requires 2 tires. So now, in other words, they need 10,000 tubeless tires to be transferred from the tubeless tire division. So now we say this will be 575 minus 400 times by 10,000 units, meaning the number of units that were lost from external to be transferred internal, which is 10,000. Then we get to the contribution on lost units. Remember, our contribution is 175. I want to highlight that our contribution is 175. Then you say, how many units were lost? We say it's 10,000. We multiply by 10,000. Then this becomes contribution on lost units. Then after now, what do? We take the contribution on lost units. We divide it by the number of units that were transferred. I want to repeat this one. We take the contribution from lost units. We divide by the number of units that are being transferred. The total of all the units that are being transferred. Now, in this case, because the division, which is the tubeless tire division, is operating at 100% capacity, so the units that are lost are the units that are transferred. So now, when we are calculating the compensation on lost units, or the compensation for lost units, now the tubeless tire division must be compensated for the units that were lost. Now, how to calculate the compensation for lost units or opportunity cost? That is where we are. Opportunity cost per unit or compensation for lost units. It is your contribution on lost units divided by the units that are transferred, which is 10,000, divided by 10,000. So now what do? We say 175,000 divided by 10,000. That gives us 175. So now the tubeless tire division must be compensated with 175 rand, with 175 rand for every unit, including now the incremental cost. That therefore means that our transfer price now becomes the incremental cost plus compensation for lost units, which is variable cost, in this case our incremental cost, plus opportunity cost being called compensation for the lost units. So now it will be variable cost of 400, which we have seen that our variable costs are the costs that are unavoidable. There is no way you cannot incur variable cost. So now it will be variable cost plus opportunity cost, or variable cost plus compensation for lost units. Therefore, now that means the price at which the tubeless tire division must transfer the tubeless tires to the mountain bike tires must be 575 rand. Now, if you look at this 575, the 575 is the same as the market related price of these tires. Why that is the case is because if the one division is operating at 100% capacity, that means the transfer price, it becomes equal to the market related price. That is what this is trying to prove. So the minute one division operates at 100% of full capacity and another division wants goods to be transferred to them from the division that operates at 100% capacity, therefore now the transfer price will be incremental cost plus opportunity cost or compensation for lost units, and that will be equivalent or the same as the market related price. Scenario number 2, sum capacity. Now that means in the second scenario, this division is operating at 95%. Now they are operating at 95%. Let us look at 95%. Now if the tubeless tire divisions operate at 95%, meaning out of 100,000, we multiply this by 95, meaning, sorry, out of 100,000, we multiply this by 95, it gives us 95,000. That means there is 5,000 that is idle. There is 5,000 that is idle. That means they have 5,000 that is available. They have 5,000 tires that are available. Now 5,000 is not enough because the mountain bike division wants 10,000. 5,000 is not enough because the mountain bike division requires 10,000. Now the required is 10,000, but the available is 5,000. The required is 10,000, the available is 5,000. That is why I said some idle capacity. So now how do we then deal with this scenario? Now in other words, the tubeless tire division which sells 95,000. Now they have to compromise some of their 5,000 units that used to be sold external and they transfer them to internal. Remember, they are operating at 95%. meaning now the organization will increase its capacity to become 100%. I want to repeat that one. Now they are at 95%. In order for them to be able to transfer the 5,000 as available to the Mountain Park Division, they need to increase from 95% capacity to 100% capacity. But the 5,000 is specifically produced in order to be transferred to one division, which is the Mountain Park Division. So now the 5,000 that is available or idle capacity, another 5,000 must be lost from an external sale to an internal transfer. Now let us deal with the price in scenario number 2. Now scenario number 2 remain the same in terms of basics. We need to calculate contribution on lost sales. Contribution on lost sales. Now our contribution remain the same. Contribution is selling price minus your variable cost is equal to your contribution. Selling price in this case being 575 minus 400, then this is 175. This is our contribution per unit. Then after we divide we multiply our contribution by the number of units that were lost. Now the lost units will be 5,000 because another 5,000 is idle. So we say the lost units is 5,000. Therefore now our contribution on lost sales becomes 875,000. Now we need to calculate the opportunity cost. How to calculate opportunity cost? You say contribution on lost sales, total contribution on lost sales, which is 875,000. We divide this by 10,000. If you do so, remember 10,000 is the number of units that were transferred or that are transferred or that will be transferred. So now that's what you do. You take your contribution on lost units. Remember, this contribution of 875,000 was multiplied with 5,000. It was contribution times by 5,000, 5,000 being the units that were lost from external to internal, because another 5,000 was available. But the total that will be transferred is 10,000. So we divide by 10,000 total that will be transferred, because that is the demand or the requirement of the Mountain Park Division. So now 875,000 divided by 10,000, this gives us 87 rand 50 cents. So now what do? We say now our transfer price equals incremental cost plus compensation on lost sales, So now that is how you deal with the transfer price in the case where some of the units are available, but we need more than what is available. So now that will be this scenario. Then now we go to the second scenario, or the third scenario. Third scenario, I think you can see the direction. Now in the third scenario, there is enough capacity. In this case, the tubeless tire division is producing and selling 90%, meaning 90% of this will be 90,000. That means there is idle capacity, and that idle capacity is equal to 10,000 tubeless tires. And 10,000 tubeless tires is what is needed by the Mountain Bike Division. So what is idle in tubeless tire division is what is required by the Mountain Bike Division. So now in this case, there are no units that will be lost, but there's 10,000 units that will be transferred. So now we need to calculate opportunity cost on lost units. We need to calculate contribution on lost units. Contribution on lost units is the selling price minus your variable cost. Then that will give us 175. How many units that were supposed to be sold external but are sold internal? 0. So now that means our contribution on lost sales becomes 0. Then after we say contribution on lost sales, it is 0, divide by number of units that are transferred being 10,000, that will still give you the same 0. Therefore now that means in this case it will be incremental cost plus compensation on lost units, of which there is no compensation on lost units because there are no units that are lost, which therefore concludes that in the case where we have idle capacity that is equal or more than what is required by another division, then the transfer price will only be equal to the incremental cost, meaning your variable cost. And I hope you mastered that one. In the first scenario, the organization is operating at full capacity. If that is the case, then you know that the price will be equal to the market related. In the second one, it will be in between the two. It will be less than the market related because we have some idle capacity, but not enough. In this case, where we have enough idle capacity, that means now it will be only incremental cost. Now, with that being said, guys, I think I can conclude and say transfer price is equal to incremental cost plus opportunity cost or plus compensation for lost units or compensation on lost units. With that being said, guys, thank you very much. Please do apply this question. You'll find it in many times where you find two division transferring units to another division. Please go read the theory on divisionalization. There are advantages of divisionalization and there are disadvantages of divisionalization. Sometimes you can be asked such theory. Please be able to explain the benefits of a divisional structure in an organization. With those words, thank you very much.